I'm Mike Danais, and alongside Charlie Hossack, we are Mike and the Hoss. Charlie, I'm ready to run through a wall after that opening.
That was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
That was
Pumped. Feeling
totally
good. Oh, get a little more of it. Yes. Here we go. Hey, I know we talked about this a few weeks ago, and you have conveniently forgotten. One of these days, I'm going to be allowed to open the show. We had talked about that.
We talked about it, but we didn't agree to it.
I thought maybe I'd have an opportunity. I know that Eric hasn't forgotten. I'm going to be able to do the weather at some point.
We have our roles, okay?
I understand, but I didn't realize that you
in your lane.
Listen, I don't need to stay in my lane. It's both of our names are on the show, and I don't know when we agreed that you would always open the show. We never agreed to that. I may have to get a new.
It was a couple of years ago.
I may need to get a new agent. I don't know. Eric Scott's looking maybe to represent me.
Okay.
So we're going to be coming in with the weather.
That is fine.
I can't wait to talk about clouds, cumulonimbus, things like that. I'm doing great. I know you haven't asked me, but it's.
I wanted to talk about the opening, but you just came in right away complaining.
All right. Talk a little bit about the opening. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that. Just that we had agreed upon something that we haven't really.
We did not agree.
We hadn't followed through with yet.
We didn't agree upon that.
All right, at some point, I bet there are people out there that would love for me to open the show.
I don't think so.
I
think people compliment the format that we have of the show.
Yeah, formats are good. I like formats.
Okay.
But we could stick with
Charlie,
the format.
how are you doing today?
Hey, I thought you'd never ask.
Let me guess. It's snowing, so you're grouchy.
I'm not grouchy, actually. It is snowing. Once again, I told you it's the season of yuck. I keep saying that, but it's one of those things where this nice snow, it's white and beautiful, and it makes things clean again. But yeah, I'm ready for baseball. I'm ready for warm weather.
I'm ready for baseball. The bus is left for Florida.
Yeah,
Fort Myers.
Heading down. We're gonna have a baseball season on time this year.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Which is exciting. How about you? Do you like the snow?
I'm tired of it already.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
It's February.
I got to go home and
do some cleanup.
I got to do some snow blowing, unless my son gets to it, which he said he might.
He may.
Looks like I'll be doing some cleanup when I get home.
All right, that's okay.
That's
or you could just be like me, be like
college kids.
I hear you. But just be like me, and it's like, it's going to snow in 3 days from now, so why bother?
That's what I've been using for the last 3 storms.
Gotcha.
It's about time that I get out there.
All right.
So, do you want to talk? You want to do your opening take first, or
do I want to talk? Yes, I like to talk.
We know that.
Yeah. I'll do my opening take. Yeah, thank you for letting me go first.
You're welcome.
Wow. My opening take is we had a caller on Friday, and hopefully he might even be listening today. But he called in on Friday, and he suggested, this is our Super Bowl preview. He suggested that the NFL has become like the WWE. That's World Wrestling Entertainment. For us old people, remember it used to be the WWF, World Wrestling Federation, but that conflicted with the
Saturday mornings.
Yeah, Saturday mornings. That conflicted with the WWF, which is the World Wildlife Federation. So they changed their name to WWE. So basically, what he was saying is that the NFL is fake. It is predictable. They've already determined based on each game who the winner is going to be. And it was interesting because as I was watching the Super Bowl, I had the caller. The caller's name is Bob, and I had kind of Bob in my head saying, I wonder if there's anything to this.
Well,
did you want to say something? Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of Super Bowl stuff to talk about today.
I know. I know.
One of those items is something that I'm sure Bob was very, very angry about during that game.
You're talking about penalties?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. But I am not a believer. And first of all, let me just back up a little. It broke my heart to find out that wrestling was fake. I found out when I was 14 that this wasn't real, and that hurt. Because I was a big Hulk Hogan fan. Hulkamania. I had the T-shirt. Did you? You're not a wrestling fan?
I wish Facebook Live could just see. He tried to rip off the shirt just now.
just rip off that shirt. Yeah. So not like Superman, but like the Hulkamania. Yeah. All right. Okay. And I think the NFL is nothing like the WWE. I think they go out there. The players prepare. The coaches prepare. They go out there and they battle. We have no control over what referees do, all right? Just like in any sport, referees are referees. But some people might say, and Bob might say this, that's an adversity to the game, and it may have been this week, and we'll talk about it later for the Chiefs, that there was more of an adversity to overcome penalty flags. But that being said, I think football is pure and true, and nothing like the WWE, and I don't think it was determined that Tom Brady and Gronk and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to be world champions. It makes for a great story, and we'll talk about that later. But the WWE and the NFL are not the same thing. I
100% agree with that. To fix an NFL season, because that's what Bob was saying, that the season itself was fixed to have Brady win the Super Bowl in the home stadium, going to Tampa, that whole
right. You had to fix 16 regular season games.
And I believe he tied in COVID to it, that it was just a feel-good story.
Pandemic. So we would have had to fix every single game, getting them to the playoffs, and then fix the playoff games. Yeah. And then, of course...
No, I don't think that happened. I will just say, though, that the game itself gave a lot of food for those conspiracy theorists.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was not many things that went the Chiefs' way, and there was a lot of stuff that went the Buccaneers' way.
Right.
So, no, I don't think it was intentional. I think there's a human element to it, and which you want. But we've talked about in the show in the past. We've talked about fixing games, and Tim Donahue, I think is his name, the referee for the NBA, who had a long history of fixing games
and gambling,
balls, and that he said he wasn't the only one.
Right.
So, and you talk about like the NBA, and if you go to a playoffs, that the home team almost always wins in the NBA, or they, the foul differential is always leaning towards the home team in the NBA.
The home team's favorite.
I don't know if the NFL has done anything like that. We know that the home team usually does have an advantage in the NFL, but we always assume that that's crowd noise and
crowd and comfort level, and it's their field, their locker room.
But as for those conspiracy theorists like Bob, I'm sure he did not sleep well that night.
I was going to say I did a little welfare check on Bob just to make sure that he was okay after Tom had won the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl and Tom had won MVP and all that good stuff. Well, so he said he's fine, but he's looking forward to baseball season. But definitely not the same as the WWE. What's your take?
Well, my take is on the Super Bowl also, and obviously that's the biggest sporting event that our country sees every year. The biggest single-day sporting event that our country sees. I mean, it did like 100 million viewership, and I think a lot of that probably had to do with COVID, that there wasn't any big parties. People had, if anything, they had small parties. And
did you see though that it was down a little bit from last year? Last year's was a little bit higher for viewership, but I didn't mean to ruin your take.
But it was like the second.
Highest.
So it was really high. My question is simple: what about Gronk? And so all this attention's been on Brady, and you pull back and you look at what Gronk has done in his career. He's played 10 years because he didn't play last year. He was retired last year. So he didn't play last year. So he's played 10 years. He's been to 6 Super Bowls and won 4 of them.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Pretty impressive.
Is that something that should that be talked about at all?
Absolutely.
If there wasn't Brady, wouldn't everybody be talking about that?
They'd be talking about Gronk.
And he was a factor. He was not just a blocker. We thought that he was going to have a catch or two.
No, he had 6 catches.
He had 6 catches, and they were big ones.
Yep, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and he blocked. He blocked all day long.
The blocking
too.
is so good.
And
but I think Gronk gets the short end of the stick in the sense because it's always Brady Gronk. I mean, Gronk's never done it without Brady.
True. That is true.
So they're always together.
I mean, and that's what it was. Just what about Gronk? I think that we need to take a step back and recognize what he has done. And is he the best tight end that's ever played?
I mean, I would say yes. And I think at the end of the game he's probably hugging number 2 when he talked with Kelsey.
Well, and I got a little problem with that. Is Kelsey a tight end or is he a receiver?
Yeah, I still lean towards. I mean, he definitely.
Does he ever stay in to block?
That's true. He doesn't block as well as Gronk does.
Does he even stay in? He's so much part of their passing game.
That's true.
That
he'll do a little chip and then he's on a route.
Right. Yeah. Whereas the Patriots won a Super Bowl with Gronk basically just blocking.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
So he's one of the best tight ends as far as blockers. He doesn't run like he used to run. He doesn't necessarily have to.
No.
He's got the hands of a receiver.
Yeah.
It's the blocking, I think, which separates him from the other tight ends. And so it's hard to compare. It's such a unique position anyway, because you have your receiver-type tight ends like Kelsey.
Yeah.
And
then you take a look at Kittle, like for San Francisco. Yeah. Kittle might be more like a Gronk, where he stays in and blocks. He's got great hands and can run great routes.
Antonio Gates.
Oh yeah, sure.
Was a blocker.
Yeah.
And a receiver. I thought he was more in the Gronk territory.
Yeah.
Is it Gonzalez? Played for Atlanta and he played for
the
Kansas
Chiefs.
City. Played for the Chiefs. He was more of the receiver kind.
Right.
So it's hard to put them into the same group. But right now, I would say with Gronkowski's record of going to 6 Super Bowls in his 10 years,
right, and winning 4,
and being a pretty big part of those.
Definitely.
Those 4. I mean, even in the one against the Rams, he caught that big pass down the seam.
He did. And how interesting is it to see Gronk right now, where he just won a championship and he's a totally different guy than his last Super Bowl. Yeah. You know, when he was all beat up and you know, obviously he retired and he knew that was the last time he was going to play, and he just seems so invigorated, full of life, full of I like Gronk a lot.
Is that because of the environment that he's in?
Yeah, I mean, I read a little article, I don't know if you saw it, but he said he loves the fact that he wears shorts, a t-shirt, and sandals to go to the office every single day. He loves the climate, he loves the culture down in Florida. He loves obviously he's a partier, we know that.
Yeah.
And he just that's who he is.
Wednesdays off down there.
Yeah, I mean he loves that.
I mean, that's the difference, and that's starting to come out today. There was a lot about the difference between Bruce Arians and Bill Belichick and how they do it.
The no days off is not for Tampa.
No,
they take some days off. Yeah,
and they won that way.
Yeah,
and I think this is for another show, but it's going to be a lot more difficult for Belichick to recruit and to say we work hard and we win.
Right.
Because Tampa did it another way. They did it with the same players.
They did.
Literally the same players.
I think Tampa Bay works hard. I mean, those guys are working hard. But you're right. They're taking the day off.
They're all saying that it was night and day.
Yeah.
Between what they were doing in New England compared to what they did in Tampa.
Right. Totally different. I think it's a different I mean, we know it's a different atmosphere, but I just have this vision, and we've been to Gillette, and you know, it's February and it's snow and it's cold, and you're walking in, and down at Tampa the sun's shining and you're feeling good, and you've just done your TB12 treatment. I
also, you know, there was a lot of talk, you know, and now after the fact, since he won, you know, there's a lot of talk about Brady and about his preparation and how, you know, first one there, last one to leave, and
right.
You know, texting everybody. Did that come from Belichick's tutelage and from Belichick saying you have to work at it, you have to work at it, you have to work at it, or is that Brady? And I think it's probably more the former, that it came from Belichick first, that Belichick taught him how to be a successful NFL player.
This is how you be a champion. This is how you become a champion. You need to put the work in. And I think, yeah, because you look at that skinny guy. Did you see the center for the Bucks? Yeah. Who were coming in wearing the picture of Tom Brady's, you know, what was a combine photo? And that kid, that combine photo, was not going to win a championship, or you know, lots of championships. So Belichick definitely said, "This is how you become a champion."
If Brady was drafted by Tampa 20 years ago, I don't think he's a champion. I don't think he's in the league. I don't think we know who he is.
Right.
I think there's there's a combination of a lot of different things that made Tom Brady, and Bill Belichick's a big part of that. That doesn't hide the fact that the pressure is on Belichick next year.
Absolutely.
And more than ever. Yep. He has to win. He has to win next year. Okay, we'll be right back. Mike and the Hoss and WASR. Hey. We didn't get a chance to talk about what we're doing on our show today. We just kind of...
No, we didn't preview it. You know what else didn't happen? And I'm okay, so we'll do this next week. But that might have been the polite time to say during our break, Charlie, why don't you bring us back from break?
Will you just please...
I can't. Like, that would have been... I'm okay for the rest of the show. No. But maybe next week I could do it. Or not next week, maybe Friday.
Now I'm just going to dig in. I'm just going to dig in.
That's fine. All right, so what are we doing on this show?
Well, today we have a lot of Kingswood stuff. So this segment we're going to talk about Kingswood stuff. We don't have a caller today. One of the coaches is not calling. Well,
right.
we could get a phone call.
Anybody that wants to call can.
But we have a special guest possibly on Friday.
Yes.
And so we don't want to say who it is.
No, not at all.
But we're looking forward to a potential guest coming into the studio.
In studio, learning about radio and hanging with us.
He's going to join us for a little segment.
It's going to be fun.
So hopefully that works out. We do have some athlete of the week that we want to talk about.
Yes.
So... Am I going first?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Our male athlete of the week is Lou Arenello. After having a bad morning race and falling in both the giant slalom runs, Lou showed his mental toughness and fortitude by fighting hard to finish both of his slalom runs. This paid off for him, resulting in a 6th-place finish and being the top-scoring knight in the slalom event. Great work, Lou.
That's awesome. Falling down, getting up.
That's right.
That's grit.
Good story. Rudy.
Persistence. I love it.
Rudy,
also known as Lou Arenello. Okay.
I watched Rudy this weekend.
Oh, it's such a good movie.
It's just
brings
me to tears.
So our female athlete of the week is also a skier, Hadley Larson. Hadley has been diligently working hard and moving up the ranks to become a key scorer for the girls' ski team. She had an impressive 7th-place finish in a very challenging giant slalom course to become the solid point scorer for the girls' team. So congratulations to Hadley Larson as female athlete of the week, and of course Lou Arenello as male athlete of the week.
Congratulations, guys. All right, so there was a D2 Alpine Championships for skiing today. Those were canceled.
I get a laugh. It was canceled because it was snowing.
I know.
It's just too. And our friend Josh
Can't make
Spalding.
this up, can you?
Yeah, our friend Josh Spalding was there to cover it, and I love he has the best job in the world. You know, he's at Cranmore, and he's like, this was going to be my office for the day, and it got snowed out. So I think they're back at it tomorrow, though.
Thursday. I thought
Is it Thursday? Okay.
I thought
All right,
I saw the date
rescheduled
was
for Thursday. Good.
So the D2 Alpine Championships are going to be on Thursday at Mount Cranmore.
You know, maybe on Friday, if we're lucky, maybe we could hear from the Alpine coach. We'll see.
Yeah, we could try to reach out
to find out what happened.
The hockey girls,
yeah,
played once since our last show.
That's right.
They played once. You want to hit that?
Yeah, sure. They had so they played last Saturday. They played down in Dover. They played St. Thomas. St. Thomas is combined with the Dover team, and it was a challenging game. It you know, if you listen to when we used to be on Wolfeboro Community, we're still on Wolfeboro Community TV, but back when we started, we were really down on St. Thomas, private schools, able to recruit, and not much has changed. So they had a really big squad, really talented skaters for St. Thomas and Dover, and they showed that. The highlight though, Haley Kelly. Haley played goal on Saturday. You know, obviously I'm exaggerating, but it seemed like she saved about 1 million shots. I mean, she was getting peppered all afternoon and just making save after save after save. So she did a good job. And the other cool thing to come out of this, as the girls stayed the girl being the Kingswood girls stayed positive, and they went out there and they played hard, and they continued to work right up to the final second. So we're excited because tomorrow night's senior night, and it's a home game, so that's happening late. It's like 8:00 at night, but it's we're gonna recognize our seniors, and they're playing Pinkerton Academy, and it should be a lot of fun just seeing the girls out there playing.
These are big schools the girls are going against.
Yeah.
St. Thomas Dover, that's a combination of about 2,000 students, at least. And Pinkerton runs about 3,500 students, I think.
I know, that's crazy.
And Kingswood, we're maybe pushing 800 at best.
Right.
A young girls program.
Yeah.
Hockey program that was recognized.
Yeah, recognized last night by the school board. It's an official program at Kingswood, so congratulations to the girls team.
So the fact that the girls can compete at this level is pretty good, and they need performances like what Haley Kelly did.
Right.
And Haley Kelly's not a goalie.
They're
rotating their goalies.
Right, and
through.
the other goalies for the past couple of games have been Aaron Meyer, and Aaron Meyer's not necessarily a goalie, but stepped up and is playing goalie and playing great in the net, and she's amazing. So just every kid is stepping up. Kids, kids that aren't necessarily defensemen are playing defense. So it's been awesome, and Peter Kelly and Bob Hughes, just they're doing a great job with the girls, and it's been awesome.
Awesome. When we were we split up because of COVID. The boys coaches have moved over to the boys team and the girls team. We don't combine our practices anymore. One of my favorite parts about being part of it, and I only got a small dose of it at the beginning of the year,
right,
was being out there with the girls because they're just so happy to be out there. It's awesome.
Yeah.
They're smiling all the time and
just having a good time.
Obviously when you're learning how to play hockey, and some of them are just learning how to play hockey for the first time, standing up is, you stand up and you don't fall down, it's success.
You get excited about that.
So it's a different mentality that they're playing with, but they compete and they're having fun. It's a great message to send to all kids that are trying to play sports.
Definitely.
It's never too late to start.
I was going to say, you make a great point, because we have some seniors on the girls team that have never played hockey before, and they're like, you know what, it's my senior year, I'm going to try something new. So anybody that's listening out there, whether you're an adult or a kid, if you don't think you can do it, just try it. Have fun. Step out of your comfort zone and play hockey.
We do some promotions for the Wolves, the She-Wolves.
Yeah, the She-Wolves.
And
love the She-Wolves.
We've had them come into the TV studio before, and they're always looking for girls to play.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's more hockey for girls after high school.
All right. The boys, we played twice. We tied Kennett on Saturday, and we lost to Kennett. No, sorry, we tied. Get this right. We tied Kennett on Thursday because it was delayed because of the.
Yeah, you were going to have Wednesday, but the
right.
the ice was melting or whatever.
Right.
And
we talked about that.
Yeah,
one.
you played on Thursday, and you guys tied on Thursday.
And we talked about that one Friday.
And then you played on Saturday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's why I'm here.
And we lost on Saturday.
Okay.
It was kind of a tale of three games. We played okay in the first period. The game was tied 1-1. We played a really strong second period. Probably the best period the boys had played all year long. And we took the lead, and then we came out flat. I don't know how else to say that. We just came out flat, and give credit to Kennett. They came out with a lot of fire in their belly, and they scored 3 quick ones. A few breakdowns on our part, and a good team capitalizes on them.
Yeah, do you think it was like the kind of coaching like Mike Lane? Do you think it was all about Mike Lane?
No, I don't think it was about Mike Lane, and I don't think it was about Mike Potenza or Mike Danais either.
It's about the kids.
It's about the kids.
I just want to make sure. I don't know if Mike Lane's listening, but it's about the kids, about the players, maybe not the coaching.
No, so they're kids, and we're learning. We're getting better, and we're learning.
That's good. So what's on tap? When are you guys playing again?
We go to Berlin tomorrow.
You going to Berlin?
Berlin.
So I'm not Berlin.
No,
going
not
to Berlin.
Berlin. Berlin. Berlin is Germany.
Berlin is. I wish we were going to Berlin, Germany. Can't travel out of the country.
No.
But so you're going to Berlin.
Berlin.
Okay, that's a trip and a half. That's such. But here's the deal. I mean, I know it's your hometown and all this stuff, and you got all sorts of records up there. I'm sure. You could tell Chip Skelly about them. But I like the atmosphere up there. I like the atmosphere. Playing in that, like, what do they call it?
Hockeytown USA?
Yeah, it's like, is it
Notre Dame Arena.
That's right, Notre Dame Arena. It's just a cool arena.
Recently, well, I say recently, within the last 10 years, it was redone. I mean, it was a pit for a long time.
I like it, though.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been up a few times.
It's been redone. They've had some semi-pro teams up there. When I was growing up, there was a semi-pro team up there, the Berlin Maroons.
That's cool.
Were up there, yeah.
The Maroons.
And then they had a team there. I forget what they were called, but they had a team there a couple of years ago. I don't think they're there anymore. It's a hockey community, and Berlin's always good.
Yeah.
And Berlin's good this year.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna have our hands full tomorrow. We play them Wednesday and Saturday.
Right. If we have live barn, we'll be able to see it.
Probably, but I also think it's broadcast. They have an actual broadcast network up there.
Oh, cool.
And we've been starting to see. So Kennett has a broadcast network.
Yep.
Valley Vision, I think it was.
Yep.
And we saw Laconia had a broadcast network. There was,
and we know that Plymouth has
DP Productions.
Right, DP Productions. Plymouth has one because we watch football games.
Yep.
Plymouth football games. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, and I think Berlin has one also. So I believe it'll be a live barn and whatever production that they have.
Kingswood has a broadcast network in the fall. Mike and the Hoss.
That is true.
Yeah, thanks to WASR.
That's right. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Wolfeboro Community TV.
Oh. So we have to get something for the hockey team.
Yeah, we should. Well, you're a coach though.
I know. Well,
still looking for your first win. I'm looking. I cannot wait for that.
I'm not the head coach. It would not be my win.
Only
the head coach.
I understand only the head
wins.
coach is credited, but this is going to be a special moment for me.
So the basketball team.
Yes.
Speaking of looking for their first win, they are struggling to find their groove. You wrote Grove, by the way.
I wrote Grove?
You wrote Grove.
I can't believe I have an error.
They're struggling to find their Grove. They lost to Guilford.
I hope they don't have to find their Grove.
They lost to Guilford last night, but the JV team did win.
Yeah, the JV team picked up a win last night in Guilford, so congratulations to them.
Yeah, so they're looking for their first win, and do you think? I know what I think, but do you think that the late start compared to these other teams is having an effect?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you start late, you're behind the 8 ball, they say, right?
It's hard to catch up. You think, once I get a few practices, we're going to be caught up. It doesn't work that way because the other teams
they've had games, they've had game speed, and
But they're not working on the beginning of the year practice stuff where you are.
Yeah.
They're as the year goes on, your practices evolve and your speed evolves and all that stuff gets better and better and better. And I think the Kingswood, we're not blaming anybody.
No blame.
But there's going to have an effect.
Yeah. Especially, think about it, though. Like, we talked about it with Coach Farragher. Just the mask effect.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's ever played in masks before. It's not like you could say you trained in that. So the teams that have already started a couple weeks earlier have had the exposure. Okay, this is what it feels like to be in a mask. This is when I need to change my mask. So just figuring there's a learning curve just for that.
We had to practice with our masks on yesterday. The way that hockey is, if you have a bubble, a glass bubble, you don't have to wear the mask. And so, but in Berlin, no matter what, you're wearing a mask. That's just the rule that they have at their rink. And so we had to practice with the masks on yesterday, and it's different.
Yeah.
It's different. So I can't imagine, and we said this to Coach Farragher, running up and down the basketball court with masks on.
Yeah.
It's a lot to ask.
Definitely.
Girls basketball?
Yeah, girls basketball. Last night was senior night, and Josh Spalding had shared with us the girls were down pretty big entering the fourth quarter, and they mounted a huge comeback, and they cut it to within 5. They fell just short, but we talked about it last year. The girls basketball program continues to improve, and they're heading in the right direction. So although they are looking for their first win this season, they are definitely competitive in the games that they've played.
Well, I'm just looking at the hockey boys are looking for their first win. The boys basketball is looking for their first win. The girls basketball is looking for their first win.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the late start is having an effect.
I think you're right. I think you're right, and I hope that hopefully it hasn't impacted the Alpine and the Nordic team.
Well,
so they seem to be.
We're going to find out.
Doing pretty well.
When we come back from break, it is Eric's Wonders time.
Oh my goodness!
I wonder if Eric knows what he's wondering this time.
He wonders a lot of things. All right.
I don't think he knows what he's wondering, but it's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I appreciate you finding that one because I'm looking forward to hearing your explanation about it.
All right.
All right.
Sounds good.
Mike and Hoss will be right back after the break. I'm having a tough time getting that out today.
Yeah, it's okay.
I don't know.
Maybe someone else should.
No, maybe it's because you're sitting there looking over my shoulder like I want to do that. I want to do that.
I think I could do it very well.
I'm
but
sure
this
you can.
is, we need to come up with some, and Eric might be able to help us with this in the future, some type of special music for Eric's Wonders.
And this is kind of a combination basketball hockey question, or even physical maintenance question.
Yeah, I was going to say it says it's not necessarily it's about sports, but it's not necessarily sports specific.
Yeah.
As far as like playing of the game.
There are many different aspects of sports. There's playing, there's coaching, there's training.
Right.
But there's also the physical structures of these places where they play.
Right.
And court maintenance. You mentioned the turf guy last.
Yeah,
last
the
week.
turf guy. Did you see the turf guy?
It was
like, did you see him out there working? Like they had a little segment on him. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw a little clip of it.
That's pretty cool. That he's been at 55 Super Bowls.
Is
that means that. So is that true? I don't even know the answer to this. Have all 55 Super Bowls been played on grass?
No, they haven't.
So
he's responsible also for like the painting of the signs and stuff like that. So
say,
you really gave me a hard time last week about the grass thing. And then I took a step back, and I didn't want to embarrass you, but I took a step back.
It's not an embarrassment. We all have
I just wanted to take a step back. But you said he's a turf guy, so it's obviously grass. But he's been to 55 of them, and but we know the ones that are in the domes aren't necessarily grass.
Exactly. Yeah.
But he has a job to do.
So he does all of the painting and the logos and stuff like that.
I would assume so. Yeah.
But the fact that he's been to all 55, that's just so cool. All right, but Eric is sitting here. He's chomping at the bit, saying, "You need to
get to my question.
Need to tell me about my wonder." So here's Eric's wonder this week. How does the Boston Garden switch from Bruins hockey in the afternoon to Celtics basketball in the evening? So Eric, we're talking about the same day, and I've been blessed in the past to have attended this. Well, actually, only once in my life, where there was a Bruins game by day and a Celtics game by night. And do you know? Are you on? You have your radio? I'm not your radio. Do you have your radio on? I hope you have your radio on. Do you have your microwave? Your microwave. I don't know what I'm saying. Do you have your?
It's not me. It's not just me.
Do you have your microwave on today?
I know what you meant.
Yeah. Okay. Have you been to the Boston Garden for anything, whether it's a concert? Okay, so you've been to the so you're familiar with the Garden. So all right. So obviously the Bruins play on ice, right, and the Celtics play on parquet floor. So at the end of a Bruins game, they have to take this ice and make it into the parquet floor for the Celtics. And this is what happens. This is something that I didn't know that I learned. The Bruins ice, the actual ice surface is only 1 inch thick. Did you know that? Yeah, I mean, you're a hockey guy.
I knew. I knew that the ice is not very thick.
Yeah, so it's only 1 inch thick, but it's created out of many, many layers. And the ice itself is kept cool from calcium chloride solution that is called brine water. And that brine water is circulated through the pipes in the concrete underneath the ice surface. So once they create the ice for the Bruins, it's there for the whole season. It doesn't melt until after they win the Stanley Cup. Right? So that's the ice is always there. So in order to protect the ice, what happens is there are individual, like 6x8 pieces of plywood, and then some smaller ones that are cut, that go right over the ice. So it's insulated. And then they lay this nice and flat, and the plywood keeps the ice cold and the basketball floor warm. And they take the hockey boards out. They take those out in the glass. All that comes out, and they put all this plywood, piece it together. It's truly like a jigsaw puzzle. And then the Celtics parquet floor comes out piece by piece. And there's over 200 pieces of this parquet floor that they lay on top of this plywood. Once they do that, because a basketball court is 94 feet by 50 feet, where a hockey rink is 200 feet by 85 feet, you still have a lot of space left, and they actually fill that in with more seating for the Celtics games. So the cool thing is, and I've been to a lot of Celtics games, we actually sit in the seats that are on what you would call the Bruins ice. Now the ice is right below us. Obviously, you can't feel it. Don't feel the temperature, but you're actually sitting on the ice where the goal would be, which is, I think that's kind of cool. It takes, to be able to do this, it takes about 90 minutes to do it, and between 25 to 30 people are working on this all at the same time to switch the ice to the parquet floor. And then, of course, at the end of the night, They have to reverse this. So the Boston Garden has a lot of employees and a lot of employees that are trained to do this. The one thing that I learned,
they also bring in extra guys.
Well, this
like
is what they're bringing extra guys for this, and that specifically do this. And the one thing that I learned is that it takes, like, so if we wanted to join this crew, we could join the crew, but we have to apprentice for almost a year to be able to get onto the crew, to be able to do this. These guys, and I don't think it's not just guys either. There's women on the crew, so these people are experts at what they do, and we don't think about that. Like, you just think about, hey, I'm going to the game.
I'm laying some plywood down.
Yeah, but do you think about like, I mean, I know I do.
All the time.
But do you think about, hey, okay, there's ice under this if I'm watching the Celtics game.
I'm one of those guys who watches YouTube videos and that stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you can see the time lapse, but
and you could do it in like a 3-minute video on YouTube, and it's pretty interesting and what they can do. The Celtics and the Bruins, as long as I can remember, have always played in the same place.
Right.
Now with current technology, the Garden is much different than it was back in the 70s.
Oh, right.
When they were both playing in June and it was 110 degrees up there.
Yeah.
Do you notice when you went from basketball to hockey? Did you notice a change in atmosphere there? Because they changed the temperature a little bit in there.
Yeah, there's obviously a bit of a temperature, but yeah, you certainly there's definitely a change in atmosphere. Plus, obviously, it's typically a different crowd that watches hockey versus basketball.
This brings us back to the wrestling. My only experience was a buddy of mine. We were in college. We went down and watched the Bruins matinee game.
Yeah.
And then we stayed for the wrestling that night.
Ooh.
Randy Macho Man Savage.
So they had to get they had to get the ring out there.
Yeah. So it was cool. All right. We want to spend some time on the Super Bowl, and I don't think we're going to get to all of it right now. Let's go to the Celtics. Let's talk Celtics for a little bit, and we can save the Super Bowl for the last segment.
Okay.
Are they in trouble? The Celtics? Are you still as high on them as you were before?
I'm okay. Like, you know me, Mike. I'm like steady, go the course. Don't panic.
Do you have any concerns?
We're 22 games into the season. I still keep saying they need to find a big man.
Okay, so they're 12-10.
They're 12-10.
They're
in fourth place.
They lost to
the Suns. They just lost to the Suns.
Who are a good team.
Definitely.
They're a good team.
Tonight they're going to play. Not tonight. Tonight.
Yeah, tonight.
Tonight they got the Jazz, the number 1 team in the West.
Yeah, and then who?
Raptors. They got the Raptors.
How the Raptors doing?
Pretty good.
Okay, so this is going to tell us a lot about the Celtics.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll make a prediction. I think they're going to split.
We got I almost said this. We got jazzed up. We got excited because they beat the Clippers last week, which is good. So you think they're going to split?
I think they're going to split, and I think that's one of the concerning parts of this team. This team can show up and play really well.
Yeah.
Even when they're missing guys.
Yeah, because tonight they're going to be missing Brown, and obviously we know Marcus Smart is out.
But we've seen them lay eggs. It's short so far, 22 games in. We've seen them lay 3 or 4 eggs.
Absolutely.
And that concerns me. As a team that is willing to not show up some nights, compared to a team that is consistently showing up and putting in the effort, and they don't show up. And I think that they got high on themselves after the Clippers win, and they don't show up against Sacramento. Did they beat Sacramento? No, they lost to Sacramento, and they lost to Phoenix.
Yep.
Because I still think they're thinking about the Clippers.
Do you think? So, kind of looking at the NBA right now, do you think there isn't? I go back to show my age. Like, you look at the 2008 Celtics, who were like 38-2. Like unbelievable record. There aren't any teams that are just running away with this thing.
No, the Jazz are in first place, and I think they're at 19-4, give or take. Is that about right?
19-5.
19-5. Right. So, I mean, that's certainly not 32-2, but it's not a team that's running away with anything. And I think a lot of the top teams are in the same boat that the Celtics are in right now.
Right.
They're just trying to get through the season, and the NBA has always had a little bit of a stigma about it that you can pace yourself through the season and then turn it on in the playoffs, especially if you're one of like a LeBron James team, or a Michael Jordan team, or with a real superstar at the top. The Celtics aren't that.
No, they're not there yet.
But they seem to act like they have this mentality that they are there, which has been part of the problem with the Celtics. Jason Tatum thinks that he's there. Although, I will say, I did hear a quote from him that he needs to work hard because he's not getting fouled. He doesn't get the calls that all these other guys are getting.
Right.
And that he put it on himself. I need to work harder to get those calls.
You don't go. I mean, you've heard the term "fake it till you make it." Is it okay for the Celtics? Like, if you're, why can't they do that? Why can't they say, "Hey, we are the best," and act that way? Because if you start acting that way, you become that way.
But you don't.
What do you want him to do? Like, you just want him to be like, oh gosh, we're not quite at LeBron James level, so we're just gonna know. No, I want the Celtics to come out and be like,
I don't want them to lose like 35 to the New York Knicks.
I get
one
that,
night,
but the Celtics can come out and say we can beat
and then lose to
anybody.
the Sacramento Kings after they beat the Clippers.
But they should come out every night and say we're going to beat you. It doesn't matter.
They don't.
It doesn't matter, Jazz, that you're number one.
But they don't.
But you're saying what you were saying is that you don't feel like that they need to be able to go out there and puff out their chests and whatever and say we're here to win.
That's not what I said.
Then what did you say? I mean,
well,
you're
why
saying,
don't you listen?
Oh my gosh.
I'm saying that they haven't won anything yet, so they should stop acting like they have won something.
Why? That's what I'm saying is they need to act like they've won something. What do they? Why do they have to act like they haven't won anything?
Because they haven't won anything.
Why? But why are you going to act that way?
Because you haven't won anything.
Oh my gosh. Go out there, they're professional athletes, and say it doesn't matter what your team is. It doesn't matter that your team's 19-5. We're going to go out and we're going to beat you.
But they don't.
We don't know. We're going to find out tonight when they play
We know
the Jazz.
10 times they have not. And out of those 10 losses, about 8 of them they should have won based on talent.
Maybe 6.
Maybe 6. Okay, maybe 6.
I don't know. So I'm still. So I didn't answer your question. Your question is, are you down on the Celtics? No, I'm just gonna. I'm okay right now. I'm still okay, and I think the Celtics are going to position
They're
themselves
4 games out of first place.
Yeah.
They're 4 games out of 12th place.
Yeah, you love doing that.
I do, because I find it to be a really interesting little statistical anomaly that
I'm sure
they are
all the
as close
listeners
to being
do.
well out of the playoffs as they are as being first place.
True.
That's not good. That means a 4-game losing. Well, that's not the case necessarily, but they don't have Brown. I don't know if they have. Is Brown playing tonight?
No.
Okay.
No, and I'm not that I haven't seen anything come across that says no.
All right. So and no Smart.
Yeah.
So I think
Smart. So
I do think they're going to split because they're playing 2 good teams this week, and I think they're going to choose to show up one of these nights.
Yeah.
And I think that's not a very good mark for a good team when you choose to show up some and you choose not to show up. If you have 3 or 4 titles in your back pocket, then I think you could do something like that.
You could just take a few games off.
Well, we've seen it. We've seen the rest days that certain guys get. We've seen Tim Duncan get rest days down the stretch, but he had 5 titles.
Right.
It's a little bit different. The Spurs were, they could walk out on the court and say, "Yeah, we're not going to try."
I still have the feeling. I mean, I know you said it. You're so down on the Celtics, and I think
I don't trust the Celtics. I'm not down on the Celtics. I don't trust the Celtics.
What about this? You heard rumors, and we all heard the rumors that Danny Ainge has something up his sleeve. What are your thoughts about that?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. This team needs to get.
Yeah. So I think we're going to see something in the next couple of days.
This team needs to get shaken up, and I think Marcus Smart and Kemba Walker would be the first 2 that I would jettison out of town.
I agree with you. Absolutely.
Get those guys out of town.
See you later.
And build this thing around Tatum and Brown and get all of that other attitude out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's attitude there. And I think there's attitude, especially coming from Smart, that he thinks he's a top dog and he's not a top dog, and that's part of the problem that they have.
So we don't want him to fake it till he makes it.
No, well, the guy who's fakes it till he makes it takes 15 shots a game. Do you want Marcus Smart taking 15 shots a game?
Of course not. I have the same opinion of Marcus Smart that you do.
But that's kind of the way the team is acting. The team itself is acting that way, and that I don't want to call it a cancer, but it does spread through the team.
Mm-hmm.
That when you guys start getting their own because they feel like they've made it or they want that next big contract,
right,
it's hard to win like that.
And you made a great point. That's the point where with basketball, and we've talked about this before, is that it has really become an individual sport. It's not the team. It's about me. What can I do? I need that. I need that assist. I need that rebound. I need those points.
Triple doubles.
Yep, that's what I need because I need the next big contract. I don't care if we win the NBA championship.
No, I think keeping track of triple doubles was one of the worst things the NBA did because we saw. Remember Ricky Davis?
Yes,
Ricky Davis needed a rebound, so he shot on his own basket to get the rebound, so he can get his triple double.
Yeah,
I think
terrible.
It's not as pervasive as that throughout the league, but there's a little bit.
Yeah,
the guys look at their stats.
They do definitely.
The biggest difference between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers is aware of what his stats are right after the game.
Yep.
Tom Brady has no idea.
No idea.
Tom Brady has 7 rings.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers has 1.
That's right. Tom knew that he had to throw a touchdown pass to Gronk, though.
We need to take a break. This is Mike and the Hoss and WASR. Mike and the Hoss. All right. This is always a sad segment for me.
Yeah.
Well, actually, always. This is our 3rd time.
Right.
I think our 3rd time. Our 3rd time coming at the end of a football season.
Right.
Because football takes up a big chunk of what we do.
It does. There's a lot. There's a lot to it. Well, I mean, if we ever want to move into college football, UNH is starting their program.
Well,
soon.
we'll be able to do a little bit. Yeah.
So.
Massachusetts high schools are starting. I think they're playing this fall.
Cover Mass high schools. Oh boy.
So, did you watch the game? I know that's a stupid question.
Yes.
So let's just move on.
Yeah. What game? What game did I watch?
So let's just start real general. What are your general thoughts of the game?
My general thoughts of the game: I was surprised, I was happy, and I'm sad. So surprise. Relax. I'm gonna explain it. Surprised because I didn't think the Buccaneers were going to crush the Chiefs. Happy because the Buccaneers won and Tom Brady was MVP and Gronk caught a touchdown pass. And sad because of what you already had said. It's the end of football season for this year.
Yeah. So I'm definitely sad about that. Something about the weekends, and it's more than just the weekends. Now this year it was.
We're talking about the weekend as in the halftime show.
No, we'll get to that point.
Right,
I get that in our list of things here.
All right.
This year there was football just about every night.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point during the week, you usually
turn
have
it
football.
on and watch the football.
I love Thursday night football. I love Monday night football.
Yeah.
I love Sunday night football.
Just
and
fun to watch football.
It's football is different. You can watch it in isolation.
Yeah.
And you can watch it a little bit more like, baseball. I watch baseball, but I watch the Red Sox play. That's
who you watch.
Football's a little bit different.
Football, you can watch any team.
You watch any team,
yeah,
and especially with fantasy. You could put something down and have some fun with it.
Right.
So I was surprised that Tampa won as easily as they did. I'm as surprised that Kansas City played as poorly as they did.
Right.
Because I think that game was as much about Kansas City playing poorly as it was about Tampa playing well.
Yeah.
I don't know which came first, but it was basically a New England Patriots game plan that they ran.
Yeah.
That was the blueprint. There was a general thought that Tampa runs the same defense all the time. We're going to do what we do, and you're going to have to beat us.
Right.
No, they didn't do that.
No, they didn't.
And that's what caught Kansas City by surprise. Which, to me, that's poor coaching on Kansas City's part. You can't. It's a Super Bowl.
Right.
These teams have had 2 weeks to prepare. They've looked at everywhere. The team that has had the best success against you is the New England Patriots.
Right.
And that defense has had the most success against you. Why would you not mimic what they're doing?
Right.
And why wouldn't Kansas City prepare for that?
And I think Andy Reid's a good coach. So something happened.
Something happened.
Well, yeah, I get that. Yeah. I mean, we know that something happened with Andy Reid's son and the car crash and all that stuff.
I think that had an effect.
I agree with you. That definitely the fact that he wasn't there and that was kind of over Andy Reid's head. But do we want to talk about the Tampa Bay defense?
We should.
I put in our notes. This is one of the things where, a lot of people have said this. Obviously Tom Brady got the MVP, but maybe it should have gone to the defensive coordinator, Todd Bowles of Tampa Bay. He put together the game plan was perfect, and we've seen it before. His first thing, he wanted to shut down Mahomes' first read. So oftentimes you saw him have almost doubling Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
Taking Kelsey out of the game. Being able to make a play. They were primarily played zone on first and second down, and then you throw in that pass rush that was fantastic.
But they did it with 4 guys.
And
I think and we've seen over the years that New England with Brady is always in a lot of trouble when a team can put pressure on you with 4.
Yep.
It's the same thing that happened with Kansas City. They were able to put pressure on him with 4. They kept him in the pocket for the most part.
Right.
And what I don't understand is Mahomes looked like an idiot running around 35, 40 yards in back of the line of scrimmage.
Well, he tipped
at that point.
Mahomes, as you know, he tends to take a deep drop back, but not 35, 40-yard drop back.
It seemed.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seemed amateurish.
Yeah.
On what he was doing.
But here was the thing that did you notice this? The third down defense for Tampa Bay. We've seen it before when New England ran it. It's that mystery defense where they just they're milling around. Nobody's getting set. Mahomes can't even pick out who the middle linebacker is because it's just this one big mess. Yep. And then boom, and I just loved it. I thought it was. I thought Todd Bowles did a great job.
It was what New England has been running, against some of these teams. And it's a big part of their success. So I thought that was great. I didn't think Mahomes was very good at all.
No.
When he ran for a couple first downs early on in the game, I was like, he doesn't have anybody to throw it to.
Right. Everybody's covered.
He's covered. He's got a turf toe. He doesn't have anybody to throw it to. So they've got something going on back there.
Right.
But, it's Brady and Gronk were as good as they've ever been.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's as good as he's ever been.
It was like old times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very little pressure. The offensive line for Tampa was phenomenal. They were able to run the ball. They were able to throw the ball as they needed. He only had 200 yards passing.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big statistical game. It was efficient.
Very efficient. And no picks. It was great.
All right, so let's talk about the refs. Does Kansas City have anything to gripe about when it comes to the referees?
Well, I put in there 15 penalties for 159 yards for the whole game. Unfortunately, 11 of those 15 penalties were against the Chiefs for 120 yards.
And so that in itself is off balance. But the penalty when they came, they were huge. They were on an interception.
Right.
They were on at 20 seconds left in the half. You know, on a deep ball, so pass interference.
Right.
There was a hold that was instead of punting, now they got a first down.
Sure.
Or instead of kicking a field goal,
they get
got
a
first
chance
down.
to keep. Yeah.
That was lining up in the neutral zone.
Right.
So some of them were mental, some of them were legit. I thought some of those pass interferences were really ticky-tacky.
Yeah.
I really did. And let's not forget that Tampa got the Green Bay, penalty in Green Bay. Which,
I get it. Yeah.
You're kind of we talked about that.
Yeah.
But should they have called that? Should they have held that flag? When you slow it down, it was a hold.
Definitely when you slow it down.
But in real speed, it wasn't that. It wasn't that much.
So what do you do? How do you fix this? And I don't disagree with what you said. It seems like I think being a referee in any sport is probably the toughest job in the whole wide world. Nobody likes you. It doesn't matter. One team's going to hate you, right? And then some side of the fans is not going to like you. But if you aren't consistently calling penalties throughout the game, because penalties, I mean, if you look at any play in football, you can find a penalty. Any single play.
Absolutely.
There's a penalty out there, and if you slow it down, you'll find it. And if you're not going to consistently call penalties throughout the game, do you need to start calling penalties at key moments in the game that may not be like legitimate penalties, like obvious?
No. I've got two big problems with NFL penalties. One is the pass interference call, that it's a spot foul, that they get 50 yards.
So just give them 15, like change it to like 15-yard penalty or whatever.
That's a huge one. That changes the complexion of that first half. That last drive, he only gets 15 yards. Now he's not in field goal range. Now maybe they do it a little bit different. So that's one. It's the away from the ball penalties too that drive me absolutely crazy. So a guy gets an interception on his right hash mark, but a guy held somebody on the line, coming off the line. The other receiver that was completely, it was just a decoy. It's completely out of the play, and so we're going to change the whole. It's going to dictate the whole game.
The argument I'm going to make is that I threw the interception because the guy was held and I couldn't throw it down.
I understand that stuff. There needs to. I like the NHL's what they do. NHL calls things pretty tight during the regular season.
Yeah.
Keep everybody safe and everything, keep the games moving. When they get to the playoffs, though, they put the whistles away.
Yeah.
And the penalty has to be severe. And I think that's a good model to let them play, because the referees became part of that game on Sunday.
And you never want that.
No, you never want to see the referees be part of the game, and they were part of that game.
Right.
And if this was Tampa against New England in a Super Bowl, New England would be on fire right now.
Oh yeah,
they would be absolutely on fire. They'd be looking for the addresses for these referees, and we get a chance, even though that we had a little bit of skin in the game with Brady being there.
Right.
It was different.
Different.
It was different. I enjoyed that game a lot more than I have in the years past.
I agree with you,
because I wasn't as if he lost, so well he lost. If that was New England, it would be a different feeling around here. And I think that it was blatant enough. The difference in penalties was blatant enough to say that but Kansas City got the short end of that stick.
Right.
I was going to use another word, but
I agree with you. And how do we fix that? That's kind of what I'm getting at. I would think that when the referees come together, if we're reffing a game together, maybe I'll say to you that really wasn't a penalty. Let's pick up the flag. Let's have a discussion about it. Let's not be part of the Super Bowl.
Should penalties in the NFL be reviewable?
Oh gosh, you know how long these games would be if we reviewed.
What if you had two penalty challenges?
How about
what if you had two penalty?
Okay,
challenges?
I was going to say I would say two penalty challenges or penalties in the last 2 minutes of the game or something like that. That we could go with. I'm okay with that.
I think two penalty challenges would be fair.
Yeah.
It's just that egregious game-changing penalty. Now, all the things that we're talking about, if they reviewed them, probably would be a penalty.
Probably.
Because when you slow it down like they do in a regular instant replay, like you said, there's a penalty on every single play of the game.
Yep.
In the NHL, they back it up to see if the guy was offsides 5 minutes ago.
Right.
And they go down to the millimeter if he was offsides.
Yeah.
And they will call off goals that happen within the same play, but certainly a few seconds down the line.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's right, but getting back to your question, how do we fix it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how we fix this. We just move on?
I guess, but
what
we
if
seem to
Kansas-
always be moving on, though.
But what if Kansas City didn't win the Super Bowl last year? What if this was their only shot at winning the Super Bowl?
I know.
They hadn't won a Super Bowl. Well, last year was their first, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, if they hadn't had the opportunity to have won a Super Bowl, this was it. Yeah. I mean, I still, I get it, and I think, people are going to argue, oh, human error here and there, but I don't know.
But don't you want to get the call right?
You want to get the call right, and I agree with you. I like like you said, I like the way the NHL does it. Just let them play. If it's pretty obvious passive interference, we know it. If it's ticky-tack, let it go.
Well, and,
the other
and
thing, that deep ball pass, that was, I almost want to say, uncatchable.
Well, that's another.
There was
a couple of those.
Even if there wasn't a penalty, they weren't going to catch the ball.
There was two of those that were uncatchable. And going back to the Green Bay game, that possibly was uncatchable also.
Right.
I would like them to take a look at it, and if you go by challenges, at least you had a shot to get it corrected.
Right.
And then, I've heard this thing that it's pass interference when you know it's pass interference.
Yeah.
But if you're not sure, then it's not pass interference.
Right.
And I feel like so many times we're not sure that it's pass interference.
So it shouldn't be pass
interference. And so
interference.
you slow it down to, 1 foot per second or whatever the clip is, and there's like, he touched him.
There it is, yeah. But the human eye couldn't see that.
No.
All right, let's before we leave, what are your thoughts? Halftime show.
I thought it was god awful.
Well, see, I actually
Oh
enjoyed
my god!
it.
I thought that was one of the worst halftime shows I've ever seen.
I was okay with it. I liked it.
I have a better taste in music and
I don't know. The weekend's good. Come on. I don't know.
No,
maybe we'll talk about this another time.
The weekend was a terrible halftime show.
I just like the fact that no one was sexualized and that type of thing. There weren't any mishaps. What was that thing? What was it? The wardrobe malfunctions.
Yes, but at least we'd have something to talk about that.
Well,
it was boring. Him walking around in a mirrored room, and Eric's looking at us. We got to wrap this thing up.
All right.
We will be back on Friday at 4:30, and hopefully with a special guest.
Definitely. Have a great evening.
Good night.